You see how they run and what they look like today. Hello everybody, welcome to Radio Control Hobbies. I'm Chris Chianelli. What we're going to talk about today is not only a little different, but it's something very special to me, slot car racing. The reason it's so special, it was my first exposure to a hobby in which you participated with other people. And I don't care what you're into, radio control or otherwise, once it becomes a social event, it's just that much better. Okay, first, we're going to show you these slot cars up close and personal, some antiques, right up to the latest technology. Then we're going to give you some tips on building your own set at home. Then a little later on, we're going to go to a local children's home and build a really huge set. What the kids don't know is we're going to leave it there. We're going to make some kids a little happier, and it really doesn't get any better than that. This is going to be good. All right, we got the classic Ford versus Chevy grudge match going on here. That's me in the Boss 302 Mustang, and we have the Englishman Alan racing the Z28. I don't know, an Englishman in a Chevy. There's a bit of automotive incongruity going on there. Is it right-hand drive, Alan?
No, they got me sitting on the left-hand side today, Chris.
Yeah, well, I think you're on the wrong side of the road. These things are fast. Whoop! You were supposed to win, not me. Joining me today is Alan Smith. He's a consultant for one of the leading manufacturers of slot car equipment, Scalextric. Thanks for joining us, Alan.
Great to be here. Always fun to come over and race with the Americans.
Yeah, try to beat up on an American. Didn't work this time.
Didn't work this time.
Alan and I have been in this hobby for a long, long time. I started slot cars when I was 11 years old, and I loved them then, I love them now. But back then, the problem was, I used to have to ask my mom, or one of my friends' moms, to drive me to the track to go racing. Today you don't have that problem. You can bring the track home.
Here in this box we have everything to set up this complete layout. Comes complete with cars, controllers, power supply, everything ready to race.
Nothing else to buy.
You don't need to add anything.
And how long did it take you to build this setup?
This setup takes about 15 minutes to assemble.
This nice, beautiful setup took 15 minutes to snap together. All right, slot cars have a long, rich history. We're going to take a look at some of that history right now. Let's step over the other table. Before we get into the history, I want to show you the three scales, or sizes, that slot cars come in. Over here we have HO scale, which for obvious reasons was one of the most popular race-at-home scales, obviously because of the size. Then over on the other side here, on the large end of the spectrum, we have this 1/24th scale Carrera BMW. But the most popular scale, like this Scalextric 132nd Formula car, and these 132nd cars come in a wide variety of makes and brands, all types, as we'll see in a minute. All right, let's take a walk down the Scalextric memory lane.
Okay, well first of all here we have several cars from the 50s.
The mid-50s, early 50s?
1957 these cars were built. This was the changeover from tin plate cars that you just pushed, friction drive. These now had a motor.
But these still had some tin plate?
This is a completely tin plate car.
Stamped manufacturer.
And this is how the name Scalextric evolved. It was originally Scalex because their scale was a generic scale.
Yeah.
And when they electrified them, they added the end of the name, Scalextric.
Boy, the beginning, rather crude compared to what we just raced a few minutes ago.
They've come a long way.
All right, let's look at the next step in the evolution.
Okay, into the early 60s with the affordability of plastics.
Almost looks like a unibody construction.
Yeah, similar to as the real cars were, they were using unibodies.
And this one is, what is this one?
That's an Aston Martin.
Aston Martin.
And here's a Lotus front engine car still.
So this would be a Lotus Formula One car back early 1960s.
1963. This was one of the first series of plastic cars that Scalextric made.
Yeah.
Here we go up to the 70s.
Now take a look at the motor. This is This is an open frame motor, not like the can motors we have today. And they use these a lot in trains.
That's where the hobby came from model trains. And when Fred Francis, the inventor of Scalextric, developed the sunken rail track system, people switched over from manufacturing trains to manufacturing cars. There was more fun in the racing of cars than playing with trains.
Make the new version of the Mini? That's a real popular car today.
We've got the new version of the Mini coming out in about 3 or 4 weeks.
All right.
It's going to be very popular.
And the last Formula One car you have over there?
Here you go into the 90s. It's a Benetton, driven by Michael Schumacher.
There you got the can motor.
Here we've got to a very simple motor, sealed, so there's no maintenance for the consumer.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the best things that happened to the hobby. Although the enthusiasts saw that as a downgrade, it's meant we've now got reliable components. This and the other thing they did was to invent what's called the Easy Fit Guide. This just pulls out of the chassis. This was one of the biggest failure points of slot cars.
So you just make the part easily replaceable?
Make it simple so the average consumer can do it.
Not only that, when you display it, it looks a lot cooler without sticking up in the front. Now what I've noticed, the scale, the scale details got better and better and better. I mean, you look at some of these. We'll take the GT40 and this Mustang. I mean, if you get a close-up look at the scale detail, you know, and the driver, it's just, people actually collect these just because they look so nice.
Absolutely. Well, they are model cars. They're not just designed to race, they are designed as accurate models that also race.
All right, now, when we come back, we're going to take a look inside one of these cars, show you some maintenance tips and how to get the most performance out of your car. Then a little later, we're going to go to a local children's home and build a mega 4-lane track. Don't go away.